7 of you up in here already. Go ahead and hit that like button when you come into the stream. That way the YouTube algorithm will pick up the video and start spreading it around for more people to come in and join in on the chat. Let's see, what do we talk about today? Nice day in Astoria, Oregon. Pretty busy down at the lumberyard. Not nearly as busy as I would have anticipated the summertime being, but it is picking up, and there is a lot of stuff happening. Not so much in, like, say, the builder demand, but definitely in the retail side of things. People are very, very eager about doing a lot of the fences, decks, you know, the remodels, replacing doors and windows, roofing jobs. Those are pretty prevalent right now. But not a lot of demand, I would say, coming from the home builders, not like I would have anticipated, especially considering that the lumber prices have come down quite a bit. You know, we're down under 500 per thousand, and this is not exactly the same number that we can compare to, say, last year's numbers or anything like that, because the lumber future prices have changed on the way that they determine these contracts. They're smaller contracts, and they are shipped to Chicago, so they include a rail cost to them as well. But being under 500 per thousand, that is a very low price. On the retail side of things, I've seen lumber prices, they are not necessarily falling to like their all-time lows. They're at let's see, like a 2x4 8 selling for about $4.50 a piece right now. That's kind of high, not the $13.50 that we had seen at the peak, but that's a, you know, that's a fairly high price. 2x4 should be selling for around, say, $2.50 a piece. When you got the lumber futures, you know, down around 500, you would think that, you know, somewhere between $3-4 a piece for your 2x4s would be average. But right now, like I said, there's not a lot of demand coming from the home builders, at least in the way that I had anticipated that there was going to be coming summertime. Of course, interest rates would keep that, you know, from happening, or keep the demand low, as people would be, you know, a little worried about whether or not they're going to be able to get a better deal on a house going into the future. Who knows what's going to happen there? We're still anticipating where interest rates are going to go. Let's see, how many we got? Okay, plenty of people on the live stream. Let's talk about there being no jobs and no money coming into the future, because this is really what I think is going to end up happening, is that the Federal Reserve is truly looking for unemployment to rise before they start to adjust their interest rates. So long as people have a job, they have money to spend into the economy, and if they have money to spend into the economy, then the demand from the consumer side is not going to relax into the position in which that they feel is necessary to bring inflation down, right? So basically, if you have a job, then you have money to spend. If you don't have a job, then you don't have money to spend, and then that would hurt the demand. So from just about everything that I've ever read on the Federal Reserve, there's a lot of things that they look at, but right now, with the unemployment being as low as it is, that they are going to keep those interest rates elevated until that starts to change. And according to Bostic, you know, which is one of the Fed presidents, I'll leave a link down in the description, that's exactly what he was saying there. Whether or not we can trust that, who knows? But at the end of the day, that's really ultimately what I believe that they are going to be looking for. Now, monetary tightening. This is a very interesting thing, because most people, when you talk about the monetary tightening, they don't even know that that has taken place. They pretty much think the Federal Reserve is printing money nonstop, still printing money, buying up bonds, doing whatever. I mean, you can believe it if you want. That's not the case, right? The balance sheet is, you know, diminishing. It did spike there for a little bit after the banking crisis first started kicking in, you know, that, you know, where SVB started, you know, going into their issues. We started seeing where the spike in the balance sheet on the Federal Reserve started to take place right there, but it's really come back off again, and they are going back into their quantitative tightening and relinquishing of their assets off of their balance sheet. Now, that's going to be an issue when it comes to liquidity going into the future, and this is something that I've been trying to, you know, warn about, because of pretty much from the words coming from the Treasury, coming from a lot of the economists out there, but it's very quiet, is talking about the Treasury bond buybacks. And this is something that I don't see a lot of people talking about. And if you go and look at the links that I leave down in the description, or at least the links from yesterday's video as well, what you're going to find is that the issues that are going to be coming in 2024 is the fact that there is going to be a liquidity crisis happening. There's not going to be enough money in the system. I mean, that's the easiest way to understand it. Now, Really what it's going to come down to is there's going to be a very tight credit situation, right? The regulations on bank loans and credit cards and all that other stuff are going to get very tight. The lending standards are going to be very difficult for people to get money to borrow from. And when that starts to take place, they're going to look for funding anywhere. They're going to look for money, right? If you can't borrow it, then you got to get it somewhere. And it's going to be coming from the selling of assets, whether it's stocks or bonds or gold or silver or Bitcoin or whatever. That's when it's going to start happening. So is when that liquidity is tightening up. The Treasury knows that this situation is going to come, all right? The Federal Reserve knows that it's going to come. And typically, if there was an issue in which that somebody wanted to go sell a bond and there wasn't a buyer for it, the Federal Reserve would be there, right? The Federal Reserve wants to make sure that there is a buyer of all the bonds to make sure that the interest rates stay low. That was quantitative easing, right? But they're not in quantitative easing, they're in monetary tightening, which is the opposite of quantitative easing. It's quantitative tightening. But if we run into a situation in which that there's not a lot of liquidity out there or a lot of money and people are dumping their bonds, the yields on those bonds will start to go up and the price will start to fall, right? The Treasury does not want this to take place. They do not want to have a liquidity issue within the bond market. So the Treasury is going to be there to buy back those bonds. And that's one of the reasons that I feel that they are loading up on as much cash as they are right now, is to get in preparation for 2024 or whenever this liquidity crisis hits. I don't think they know exactly when it's going to happen, but eventually it'll hit a tipping point and then it'll occur. And so that's where the Treasury is going to step up and start buying those bonds back. I mean, it really seems like if you look at a lot of the evidence out there that has taken place, it really seems to be lining up for a situation such as that. So ultimately in 2024, we're going to run into a serious situation that the Federal Reserve is not going to step up and deal with. The Treasury will, right? It's going to be essentially like a quantitative easing, but it won't be quantitative easing because it won't be the Fed printing money. It'll be the Treasury using the cash that they have now. So, all right. So that's what I wanted to talk about. 7 minutes into the videos. What are you guys talking about? Let's see here. I see a super chat came in. Let's go check that out real quick. Let's go up to the top. So communism wins at the end. Well, I don't know. Like, what is it that we have had since the 30s, you know? I mean, all right. I thought Jesus just left Chicago. Okay. Good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Good evening, Kevin, man. Good to see you. Hi, dude, watching you from Africa. Wow, right on, man. Viewers in Africa. That is so cool. Oh, good. Wood update. Yeah, just a little bit of a wood update. I'll have a better one for you next week. I'm going to try and get a little bit better information from you from the mill side of things. All right, we live in a two-tier society, people who overpaid and people who are underpaid. Yeah, that's pretty much true, right? I'm unemployed. Does that mean I'm doing something right? No, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I guess if you're still generating an income, yeah, you are doing something right. All right, like Democrats. Okay, hey, you. Okay, it doesn't have to be a passion. Good afternoon, don't you know? All right, I feel like we're already in a recession. It just hasn't been labeled. Yeah, and that's just the thing. Like, I honestly think that we're in a recession too, right? In a lot of the ways, you know, from the inverted yield curve to all the other signals that are going on out there, everything would say that we're in a recession. And now, I said it a long time ago, what's the most painful part of a recession, right? It's you lose your job and the government bails out the corporations. But what if those two things don't need to happen? Right? What if all the layoffs that are occurring, people find jobs over at the service industry, you don't really see a rise in unemployment, much like what is occurring right now, right? And then if that doesn't take place, the rise of unemployment during this recession, or at least not an intense amount of rising of unemployment, people losing their jobs to the point that they don't have another job, then that's not going to be a major issue, right? I mean, that's one of the major issues. If it's not there, then it's not there. Then the other way is the corporations getting bailed out, which everybody hates. But what if they don't need bailed out? What if they were able to gorge on incredibly cheap debt during the COVID pandemic while interest rates were low to sit on enough cash to carry them through a recession, right? I mean, what if these two things occurred, which they are occurring, Like, it's not happening for all corporations, but it is happening for a lot of them out there. The zombie corporations are failing. They're laying off a lot of people, but there's a lot of service industry jobs out there that are still available. So that's what's occurring right now. And I mean, it's not like your typical recession, right? People lose their job and they bail out the corporations. What if you don't have that? That's the one thing I'm saying. You can still have the recession, but not the pain of one. I mean, it's crazy to think, but that seems to be what's occurring right now. Oh, lots of jobs. We all work. Agreed. Okay, plenty of factories around looking for help. All right, cause Mario said so. $4.99. Thank you very much for the super sticker, man. Very cool of you. All right. Always have a job. I always have a job. Uneducated factory worker. We're hiring. All right. Uneducated economist, no dice. We're in trouble. Yeah, I need to grab the dice out of the Toyota. I've been driving the Explorer around just because it's such a nice rig and it's new to me, so I wanted to drive it around a little bit more. Is that duct tape on your shirt? Yeah, it's just because I don't want the logos and labels out there. All right. I know lots of places in New England looking for workers. Anyone not working is lazy. All right, welcome to the Soviet Union of America. People are comfortable. They don't pay rent or steal. Let's see. They have a place that will take them in is the problem. They have a place that will take them in is the problem. All right, yep, not looking the future, just want handouts. Okay. Yo, UE, what it be? Hi, guys. Hey, Simon from Central California. I can't say it right. It's 105 here. Holy moly, man. I don't know what the temperature is here, but it feels like 105. It's probably like 80. Yeah. All right, young ones, rather riot than work. New York had first mass riot today. Really? Oh, I missed that. I've been at work all day, so I missed the news. All right, U.S. set to sell $1 trillion in new debt in the next 3 months. No buyers, but private investors. Told you we could buy back our own debt. Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. I mean, it's just like whether or not it happens or not, I don't know. But it seems to me that everything is gearing up for this bond buyback, and it would almost only make sense that if you were trying to load up on cash prior to doing this bond buyback thing, I mean, wouldn't you want to put a narrative out there that cash is just absolutely worthless and nobody should have it so that you could load up on a bunch of it so you could do this? I mean, I don't know. Mainstream media propaganda, it pushes everybody. It pushes, everybody in the direction they want them to go, or the elitists want them to go. Dishes Every Day. Hit the like button, everyone. Yes, please do so. Thank you very much, Dishes Every Day. And go check out Dishes Every Day channel. Show her some love by subscribing to her channel. We're trying to get her subscriptions up so she can monetize the channel. All right, Saturday morning here, mate. Oh, man, where are you at? All right, Uneducated Economist. Times must be hard. No dice. No, man, I got to get the dice in here. You're all missing the dice. And thank you very much for, because Mario said so, for the $4.99, man. I really appreciate that. Your title interested me. I'm a Mike and the Night fan. Woo! Right on. Yeah, I haven't talked to Mike in a long time, man. I really need to hook up with Mike again and have a chat. All right, long-term treasuries. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you what it is that's going. I mean, I'm just assuming that when this bond buyback thing starts to take place, that it's probably not like something that is going to be like for the entire market of treasuries out there. I'm kind of assuming that it's probably going to be deals with the primary dealers, right? Like the big banks, the Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, all those other people. It's probably going to be their bonds that they are holding that they're going to keep those guys liquid, right? Keep those guys in funding. Because if they have an issue with the bonds as far as selling or buying or selling, trading, whatever, then the rest of the market will start to have issues as well. But if they can keep the primary dealers good, then I think the rest of the market would probably stay good too. So this bond buyback thing, it's I'm only assuming it's probably going to be just sections of the yield curve, you know, and then it'll probably only be with the primary dealers, is just kind of what I'm guessing. Yeah. And it's all credible threats anyway, right? So, all right. No offense to anyone out there, but if I don't work, I can't survive. Yeah. I kind of agree. Elo.mortgage? Did I say that right? Thank you for the 5 Canadian dollars. Man, that's very cool. You nice super sticker. Appreciate that. All right. Hello from People's Socialist Republic of Seattle. Mad Max Thunderdome. Self-employment is where it's at. Working for a company is a waste of time. I totally agree with that. Now, I do work for a company, and I do have side gig, you know, like YouTube and, you know, doing bingo calling and stuff like that, which isn't, you know, like all the money in the world, but it's a nice little side gig for Sunday evening. But pretty much anything that you do out there as far as working for another person, like a 9 to 5 or anything like that, when you work for somebody else, most of the time you're going to have an issue with it unless you make some sort of commission off of it, which then you're kind of working for yourself at that point, you know, when you're making a commission. The problem with working for somebody else is that there's not enough time, right? I mean, there's only so many hours in a day that you can work, and you're only going to make so much per hour, right? So ultimately you're stuck at whatever, you know, hourly wage there is. So, you know, whatever you happen to be at that time. That's the problem with working for somebody else, that no matter how hard or how much more, there's never going to be enough time in the day to earn more money with. So you need to have something that is going to earn you money while you can sleep, or at least some sort of commission where you can increase the amount of money that you're going to make by more effort that you put into the sale. But that's ultimately the problem with working for somebody else, is that even if you're making $100 an hour, you're still limited to only the amount of hours that you can work. And it's just unfortunate that it'll always limit you, you know. And now whether or not that you can make good with that money, like you can take that money, invest it into something else, like dividend paying stocks or something like that, and then those things start generating an income for you. There's always that way of going about it. But I agree, like working for yourself is the ultimate way of going about life. Yeah. All right, silent recession. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Self-employment takes willpower. It does, you know. It takes a lot of discipline and willpower. Any idea on how to get a job in the trades? I graduated from my trade school in electricity, applied to hundreds of jobs, and everyone says they have no work. Should I just work in retail? No, keep sticking to what it is that you want to do, man. I mean, it's out there. You know, it might have been difficult to try and find a job at this point, but just keep pushing, man, and you'll eventually find the job, you know. I mean, they're out there, so, you know, don't think that they're not there. And I mean, if you want to do that, if you don't, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to find something else. But if you want to stick to what you were passionate about there, I mean, obviously you must have had some kind of interest in electricity to want to be an electrician or something at one point in your life. I would stick with that. All right. We should all work for ourselves and nothing will get done. I don't think so. I mean, ultimately I do sales. Now, I have an hourly job. I mean, I don't make a commission or anything like that. So, you know, it's just my hourly job. But when I do my sales, when I'm doing the work and all the other stuff around, I mean, I truly do feel like I am working for myself. Like, it's my reputation, it's my efforts that I'm putting out there to try and get the sale done, you know. And I mean, whether I make a little bit of money or a lot of money doesn't make any difference to my paycheck on it, but it does to just my, you know, knowing just my own constitution of it. So, maybe over there, but not here. But I keep an eye on things. It's good to know what's coming. Greetings from Chino Hills. You're doing something wrong. Let's see here. Simon, please give us an example of zombie corporations that are failing, not banks. Well, to be honest with you, I don't know what zombie corporation is actually going to fail until they start to fail, right? I mean, we can see examples of major zombie corporations that then start creating other issues for other corporations out there. I think Evergrande was a great example of that. Now, this is a Chinese company, but still, I think the example of Evergrande was actually a very good like indication of what you could see happening with other corporations and other entities out there. So ultimately, Evergrande was the largest property developer I think in the entire world, but definitely in China. And they came into a situation in which that they were going to default on their dollar-denominated debt. Now, this is a Chinese company doing Chinese business, you know, it doesn't really have anything to do with the United States, although I think they did have some stuff going on with the United States. For the most part, this was all Chinese stuff, right? But they had sold some of their debt, some of their bonds in US dollars, right? Now, it wasn't it was a lot of it, but the majority of their debt was due in Chinese yuan. But they had a good chunk of this that was due in dollars. And they were having trouble where they were not able to come up with the dollars to pay this debt back. Now, that portion of their debt, the dollar-denominated stuff, was the most important one. Because if that starts to fail, then the rest of their debt starts to have issues as far as rolling that over into new debt. So if they can't pay their dollar-denominated debt, then people aren't going to trust them for the rest of the debts. Now, what ended up happening is because they were such a big company, they had issues paying off the other companies that were working, you know, had contracts with them. And those companies started to fail as well. So they didn't even have any issues. Like the only issue they had is that they were working, you know, with Evergrande. So this is like a zombie corporation, Evergrande, that when they started to fail, created a situation in which that other zombies started to rise, and they didn't even know they were zombies at the time, and all of a sudden they just can't pay their debts off. And now they can only function is by taking on ever-increasing amounts of debt. Now that's really like the zombie corporation, the zombie people out there, is that you don't really know how bad of a zombie they really are until they can't make the payments anymore. I think come 2024, with the Treasury kind of gearing up to do the bond buybacks, that we are going to find a lot of people out there who pretty much only existed on the fact that they were able to continue on taking out debt to survive. You know, I mean, to think about it, you know, a lot of people like this. So, I mean, is there an exact pinpointing of a zombie corporation that I can, you know, pinpoint like today? No, I don't know. Like, right? They may be able to be in a very bad position, loaded up on debt, barely making their payments on it, and then survive through this and come out the other side still operational. So whether or not they're a zombie that's going to fail, or if they're a zombie that's just, you know, marching along, I can't tell you who's that going to be. I mean, there's probably a lot of them out there, and I'd imagine that a lot of it's probably still in the tech business, you know. So I don't know. I hope that helps. But you could probably Google top zombie corporations right now and it'll probably give you a list of them. You know? Because I think I've done that in the past. You know? But again, whether those corporations actually fail or not, I think that's another story. You know? I got a good job, but is in recession officially, I think. But now, damn, so true. Okay. Just find something you like and keep on turning up. Who feels the pain then? Corporations or us? Well, I guess it depends on how you positioned yourself, right? I mean, we're going into a liquidity issue in which that money is going to get very tight. Borrowing money is not going to be very easy. That's going to put a slowdown on the amount of commerce that is taking place out there. So even if you're not looking to borrow money, just trying to acquire money through sales or something like that is going to be difficult if people can't borrow money to do it. So it's going to be painful for just about everybody on every level. The only people that's not going to terribly be painful for are those who loaded up on cash, basically sitting on a cash position so that they can find the ability to keep making their payments through the downturn. Very few people think that way. Like, very few people think, I'm going to load up on cash so that I can pay my bills with it. They'll load up on cash for an emergency fund, and then while they're in the emergency, they'll deal with it. But very few people say, hey, I'm going to load up on, a year's worth of pay, of income so that I can make payments for a year. I mean, that's like a far off concept. Most people can't even come up with $400 in case of an emergency, let alone come up with an entire year's worth of wages so that they can get through get through the downturn. So what ends up happening is people have to feel pain, right? They have to cut back on their, luxuries. They have to, get rid of the fancy car. They have to, start commuting to work using, I don't know, using public transit or something like that. That's the pain that people end up feeling. All right, offer to work for free even. Ooh, yeah, I've done that before to get a job. All right, universal basic income headed our way. I think after we probably see some major issues to the point that the central bank digital currencies get introduced, after that I'd imagine UBI would be introduced, sometime after that. Hit the like button, family. Yes, absolutely. Right on, 297 of you guys up in here. Nice. Go hit that like button. We got 119 likes. Let's see if we can get it up to 200 right away. I used to work laying decks. Yeah, I loved, when I did construction, I loved building decks and I loved doing like siding. Like those two things, because they were so nice. When you were done, like the house looked good, when you were done. And then after it got painted, then it really looked good. But I like building decks and I like doing siding. This government will turn the money printer on sooner rather than later. I don't think they will. I don't think they will. And I don't think the government turns on the money printer. I think it's the Federal Reserve does it, right? And a lot of people want to say these are one and the same. They're not. The Federal Reserve is a private banking organization, right? Now, I believe that once the money printer would typically turn on, I think that's where the Fed is going to stay in their position of monetary tightening, keeping the interest rates elevated, and it's the Treasury who is going to step up and say, hey, man, we're going to be buying some bonds. And so instead of needing to turning on the printing press, they just, buy back the bonds instead. Some say that 90% of programming jobs will be replaced by AI. Egads, right? Time to ask the AI how to end most jobs. Get into HVAC. I did electric for 35 years. HVAC is way better, huh? All right. Astoria is what we Portland people dream of. Yeah, Astoria is a beautiful place, man. I mean, it really is. I was just thinking about it again the other day. It's like, I saw some graffiti. And it's like, it was right across the bowling alley, big giant graffiti, and I'm thinking, damn, man, how come we couldn't catch that guy right in the middle of that? We have so little graffiti here in Astoria. It's like it happens, but not very frequently. And most of the time it gets dealt with right away. Like, whether the people get caught doing it or whatever. But, we have a few taggers that come around. They kind of make a mess of things for a while, but then for the most part, Astoria doesn't really have a whole lot of graffiti in it. And garbage, like, there's very little litter. You can walk up and down the river walk here. There's very little litter laying around. Crime is really low. It's a nice place to be. It's expensive. It's expensive to live here. Holy moly, All right. I'm a software engineer. I got laid off 2 weeks ago. Dang, that sucks. AC repair is the biz to be in. Yeah, I can see where AC repair is right now. What you gonna do, Richard? Learn to weld. Yeah. All right. Love it here, though. Oh, talking about Portland. Yeah, I love it in Portland. I can see where, Portland, I got a bad rap there for a long time, and it still does have a lot of bad rap, but it's a beautiful city. I mean, it really is. Lumber is going up. Retail lumber is going up. The future prices had dropped pretty good over the last, week or so. All right. Nice day today. Yes, it is. If so, it will crater the Puget Sound economy. RV companies laying off like crazy. 10-year Treasury today, 4.046. Also, the beach is only 1 hour drive. Yeah. Mr. Nobody, I'm looking for another job. At the same time, I'm keep doing my side hustle. Good news is that I saw that coming and prepared, saved a bunch of money already. Well, good for you, man. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we gotta figure this stuff out for ourselves so that we can make the best decisions for ourselves. I mean, think about it. Last year, so many people were screaming getting out of cash. Last year and previous to that, They're like, get out of cash, no point in getting cash, cash is trash, you're stupid for holding on to cash. But now here we're in a position in which that cash is going to be very difficult to acquire, especially coming into the next 6 months or year from now. Sitting on cash is going to be probably one of the better positions that you can be in. Even if you didn't need it for emergencies, you're going to be able to pick up luxury items that people are dumping out there because they don't, first of all, they probably shouldn't have bought it in the first place, but then they're going to need the money to pay their debts anyhow. So I think sitting in cash is a wonderful place to be right now, at least for the next 6 months to a year, All right, good man. Nice, Richard. Okay. I did electric for 35 years, HVAC. Okay, better trade. Seems to be common theme for the Western world, to be honest. Okay. Just don't ever do the rear hustle. Yeah. All right. B Dan 82. Thank you so much for the $2, man. Very cool of you. Any ideas on how to profit from a liquidity crisis? Well, that's just the thing. It depends on how, there's people out there with, millions of dollars who really understand what it is that they can put that $1 million towards that's going to absolutely kill it for them. Most people don't have any money, right? Most people have just a little bit of money. Now, me personally, I'm thinking about there'll be a situation in which that buying into the stock market might be, a really good option. Possibly buying land. Who knows what's going to end up coming up for sale? When you have a credit situation in which that the lending standards are very tight, then the opportunity to borrow money to buy houses and land and car and stuff like that becomes so less that the cash purchases are so much more, right? They do so much more for you. And when you say, people are like, well, how much is it? Well, what if I give you cash for it today? How much is it? That's going to be a much different tune, that we're going to be playing here in the future. So how do you profit from it? I don't know. You think like that. You kind of think of what position that it is that you want to be in and what it is that, could come up for sale that you think that you could take advantage of. That's how you do it. I drive a truck, long hours and hard work, but beats the streets, All right. Look into the trades, people. If you're not book smart, you'll still have a calling if you don't want to work in a factory. Yeah, absolutely. The trades it's amazing. Around here, if you know anything about working on a house, you could probably get a job. The only problem is that you're going to have a hard time living around here because there's no place to live, right? You can find the work. It's the everything else that goes with it that's hard. All right, we're at 167 likes, guys. We're almost there. 200 likes. All right. Jesus is Lord. Work it, twerk it. AI is to blame. The entertainment in Hollywood is the tip of the iceberg. Inspirational Nomad, good to see you. Thank you so much for the $2. You are constantly a positive attitude, earn success. Right on. I appreciate that, man. I come out here and try and just give you my honest opinion about things, try to look it up, as far as ideas that I feel are happening here within the economy, stuff that is outside of what most people are talking about. But then again, I don't know what a lot of people were talking about because I kind of turned off a lot of the other economists out there. Not because I thought that they were wrong or anything else like that. I was just simply trying to come up with my own ideas, my own theories, my own understanding of what was happening. And I really seem to have deviated away. I've pretty much gone out on a limb there, with a lot of the things that I'm, believing and seeing and understanding out there. But then again, that's how we come up with, with a conversation, come up with an understanding of, what is happening out here. And, because of the way I see things, I condition my life according to those things that I see. Other people do it from a political point of view. Some people do it from, maybe an environmental point of view. Doesn't make it wrong, right? Doesn't at all. It's just the way that you end up seeing it and the decisions that you make from the things that you see. Right on. 336 of you up in here, man. That is so awesome. Thank you guys for joining the stream tonight. All right. I know a trade company for protection that is trying to hire several apprentice level positions and can't find anyone. Yeah, and that's what blows me away. I look out there and I mean, there's a lot of things, like even I myself, I mean, there's so much more that I could be doing, for my channel, for the family, doing all kinds of stuff out there. But really, what it comes down to is just like, you got to just try a little. Like, most people don't even try. Like, they're anticipating that things are just going to be easy and handed to them. Like, even I myself, with putting out videos, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I can just put out a video once a day and, earn this money. But then I have to, remember, it's like, you can't just put out videos. You have to put more work into it than that. You have to be, responsive to the comments. You have to, in emails and, making the connections and doing that stuff. Like, if you don't do that all the time, then you're not going to be able to grow the channel, and the channel will eventually just go stagnant and start to deteriorate, which I've experienced on times. It was just like, get out there and do it. You got to be putting forth effort. What was it? Attention, intention minus importance, right? That's how you get this done. You have an intention, right? I want to make videos. You give it attention, right? You got to, put the focus into it, got to, study, do the work for it. And then get rid of the importance to it, right? Just do it without like the idea that I got to do this to make money, or I got to do this to make a living, or I got to, whatever. You take away the importance of it and just give it attention, intention, attention, forget about importance, and watch it ride. All right, we're up to 200, man. Thank you so much, everybody, for hitting that like button. That was very cool of you. All right, thanks, man. Driving about 10 years now. All right, I hear you, but any trade in PA right now is just flat out not hiring new guys. Residential never has work. Commercial is way too picky. And industrial requires lots of prior experience. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to skip over a few comments, go to the super chats here. Justin, thank you very much for the $5. Dental hygienist here. Whatever happens in the economy, my advice is stay the same. Keep brushing your teeth. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I went and had my teeth cleaned the other day, and it was kind of embarrassing on how bad she had to scrape all the crap off my teeth. But man, does it feel so much better today. So I won't let it go like that again. All right. I've applied to hundreds of jobs, and this whole learn a trade thing isn't working. The trades market is just as volatile as the degree market. Huh, interesting. Let me find that other one here. Boom, there we go. John, thank you so much for the $4.99. No money or job, but plenty of reality TV in the future to keep them happy. Oblivious. Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. It's not funny, but it was interesting to see, like, no job, how do you make money going in the future? My mom witnessed, and I'm not sure where she's at right now, but she's, gosh, that's so bad. But she witnessed, like, somebody in a mechanical wheelchair. Like, they could hardly move, right? They could barely move around, but they were zipping around the streets, on the sidewalks and stuff. And as mom was watching them for, I guess, quite a few hours, as they were running around, realized that they were doing DoorDash, right? So this person who could barely move, right? I mean, they could move their little wheelchair around, was able to go around and pick up stuff and deliver it, doing DoorDash to earn a little bit of extra money. I guess the most convenient ones for them. Anyway, I was going to talk to mom a little bit more about that to see, if she actually talked to the person or whatever. But I thought that was pretty cool. Like, here you are in a position in which that most people probably would never have hired you, but yet you can, like, sit there and push that app and, make the delivery or whatever and get some income off of it. I thought that was brilliant, All right. Driver's life like 65 hours this week. Ugh. All right. Somehow my area is full of work. Everything costs more than you make, but plenty of work to be had. Well, yeah, and like I said, like, even here, in Astoria, there's plenty of work. Like, you could, like, if you have any kind of skills of working on a house, you'll probably find plenty of jobs around here. I mean, I'm from a very old area. Like, Astoria is incredibly old, so the homes here are in constant disrepair, always needing maintenance or something going on with them. The only thing is that even if you found a job here, it's like living here is very difficult. You know, like trying to make rent, trying to, you know, afford the food and everything else. It's just expensive. All right. In the process of building a 6,000 square foot home in New Hampshire, out of pocket over a year now, and finding materials hard. Now 80% done. Hope the weather in by fall. Well, nice, man. It's cool to hear that you're almost done with it. Maybe some interview skills. Well, there you go. My ideal job would be industrial power plant, so I'm already looking forward to that, but I can't even get in. I whacked a hornet's nest and got stung a bit, but I got to catch you live, neighbor. Nice. I have sold more wasp and hornet killer out of my hardware store than I have ever sold. Like, I think we sold more this year than we have in like the previous 3 years combined. Even the warehouse that we pull like all our stuff from is completely out. Like, this is gotta be one of the biggest bee seasons, hornet seasons, wasp seasons, whatever I have ever seen. Everybody, like 4 or 5 times a day, people come into the store looking for the killer, and we're just completely out of it now. So pretty interesting year for bees. All right. Yeah, you're a big shot, huh? All right. It's a nice dream. Hit the like, guys. Yes, absolutely. All right. How would you approach your employer to ask for a raise? I want to explain inflation, cost of living adjustment, and having enough for emergencies, not luxuries. How do you go about asking your boss for a raise? I have never asked my boss for a raise, ever, not once. What I have done is anytime that I have ever wanted a raise, so, you know, back in the day when I was making, say, $10 an hour, right? Driving forklift around, pulling lumber, making $10 an hour. And I wanted $15 an hour, right? So what I did is I worked like I was making $20 an hour, right? Even though I was only making 10 and wanted 15, I would work like I was making $20 an hour. And then after I became so valuable working like I was making $20 an hour, I told my boss that I was going to go find another place to work. That was it. It was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not worth it to me. I'm going to go find another job. Okay? And they came up with the money on their own. That's how I did, right? And I wouldn't have to quit, right? So I never asked for a job. I just told them, hey, I'm going to go find another place to work, all right? I'm going to turn in some notice. I would even go and find another job. Like, I've even found other jobs, you know, and just say, hey, I'm turning in notice. I'm going to go to work for these guys over here. And they will do whatever they can to keep you on, including giving you money or bonuses or whatever. That's how I did it, you know, and it worked every time. Evergrande essentially experienced the 2008 mortgage crisis in the Chinese way. Yeah, it's one huge company instead of millions of small home buyers, but essentially it was the same thing. Yeah, it was pretty close. I mean, it wasn't like exactly, but I mean, I guess that was could be a good equivalent of it, you know. I mean, all right, I made short work of a black wasp this morning with my weed trimmer. Not me, man. If I get stung, it sucks. Like, the last time I got stung was around my ankles, my bee suit. I had a beehive that I was tending to. I don't have the bees anymore, but I had a bee suit on, and the bee suit had lifted up. Like, I didn't tape the bottom of the suit to my pants or to my boots. So the suit lifted up, and it wasn't much, but it exposed maybe about this much of my ankles above my boot to the suit. And the bees found that, and they stung me all around my ankles, and it was so bad that my face started to swell up. I'm walking around with this EpiPen, you know, thinking that I'm gonna have to hit myself with it. My buddy was telling me to do it. Do it, hit it, man. And I think he just wanted to see me actually hit myself with that pen. But yeah, it was pretty tough, man. I mean, I don't like getting stung. I swell up so bad from it, and then I'm in like pain for like the next, you know, week or whatever. All right, zombie corporations still create jobs and provide some service in the society. Yes, they do. In my view, better to have them to an extent than to just have people laid off doing nothing and that company provide service. That is a good description of what happened during the pandemic. When everybody wondered where their jobs went, that's where they went. They went to work for the zombie corporations. And they also worked, I mean, because like, with the PPP loans, all these people who had borrowed that money, all these small businesses, they needed to spend that money on employees. So they hired a bunch of employees, whether they needed them or not. I like listening to this channel because it's a regular guy talking on economics as a layman. Yes, thank you. And that's the whole point of this channel, was to try and, bring awareness and understanding to this complex topic so that we could all make decisions and understand it for ourselves, and or at least have a conversation about it, Hey, thank you very much, Kaspers, for the 10. What is that? Euros? What is that? I don't know where that is. What's that symbol? I can hardly see it. If you can thank self and have own business idea just to try to realize it. If you not test any, think, what is your mind? You never know if your business will be success. I am from Latvia. How come I can't speak? I'm a crypto guru. Oh, really? Very cool, man. I'm not sure if I understand that. If you can think self and have own business idea, just try to realize it. If not, test anything, and what is in your mind, you never know if your business could be a success. Oh, I get it. So like kind of think of it up yourself, and I get it. Like, kind of go with what your mind is offering, right? I will subsist off the land. No debt and paying cash is the right way. A recession sucks, but if it cleans out the dead wood, that's not a bad thing. No, and that's essentially what I believe is probably going to end up happening here, is with the Federal Reserve allowing free market forces to start wiping out some of the bad debt that's out there. I mean, essentially, if the Federal Reserve just sits on their hands and does nothing, then yeah, the free market forces will start to come in and start clearing out some of the issues that are happening out there. It won't be fun. I mean, it's going to be painful, but getting rid of that bad debt, getting rid of the zombie corporations, getting rid of the malinvestment, that gives opportunity for real business to take place. Like when you have a zombie corporation, you have a corporation that's sucking talent, sucking resources, sucking profit, right, from other companies out there who could be more reasonably successful company if that zombie wasn't there. I don't know. So you got two ways of looking at it, I guess. All right. BlackRock is getting into Bitcoin. All right. Not if you have a trade. I've worked and helped people on cars for 30 years. The Silver Turd. I love the name. Companies and individuals are counting on Uncle Sam to rescue them. Politicians know what it takes to get reelected. Yeah, and that's the reason why I just don't follow politics anymore, is because there are politicians out there that I would say are good people. Like they're attempting to do good things. However, it's usually before they get into office that they really have this good passion for what it is that they are trying to do. Once they get into office, it's all about just getting reelected. So that's generally what I end up finding out there, is that although it was a good intent when they started, once they get in, they realize the real game is all about just getting reelected again. And that's all about lobbyists and whatever, and if you can't pay their debts, let them go bankrupt, I say. Simon, I don't want to Google top zombie corporations. I want to know what you are thinking when you say that there are zombie corporations failing using present tense. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know exactly how to describe it any more than what I have done, right? Now, I could sit here and be driving a brand new truck, right? I could have a lot of debt on credit cards. I could have all kinds of stuff going on out there. And I could be sitting in a position in which that any drop in my income or any lack of available ability to take out a debt would then change my way of life. All right. I had essentially put myself into a zombie position. Now, whether or not it actually occurs that I have a failed future really is not determined until it actually happens, right? So what I mean by zombie corporations out there is there are plenty of companies, plenty of people who are operating in the red, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to fail, right? But it doesn't mean that they are operating without, like, on their own, right? If you're operating in the red, generally you're relying on somebody else's credit to keep you in operation. That's the zombie that I'm talking about, right? Now, how much of this actually exists out there to the point that it's going to fail? I don't know, right? I mean, I guess it depends on how bad it is. Does it mean that a zombie can't become viable again? Like, go from being a viable company into zombie back into viable again? Sure, like, that could happen, right? But, you know, when you think about it, if you were a zombie corporation, it doesn't matter if all the sales that you get, right? If the profit isn't there to pay the debts, and the only way you're going to exist is by taking on ever increasing amounts of debt, you're going to fail. Like, at some point, that's going to come to an end, especially if you have a downturn in sales or some kind of business to it. You know, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. You know, it's just, that's the way it is, you know. And I mean, you can see it anytime you ever have a situation in where you have, like, the Federal Reserve dropping interest rates to the level that they did, and then this booming corporate debt market that takes place from it. Like, I couldn't pinpoint the companies that are going to do it, but I can tell you that inside of that scenario, there's going to be a rise of zombies out of that, right? And we are experiencing that. So, I don't know. Is that enough? I don't know if that explains it enough. All right. I understand you are more than likely a part of the union. It was at one time good money when you work. Best of luck to you. You can be a corporation for a $50 filing fee. Yeah, that's true. I think the recession will hit later this year, approximately 14 months after the yield curve first inverted. Yeah, and I mean, I'm still debating on whether or not that we are going to see the recession in a way that people would anticipate it. Like, you know, I mean, like right now, I mean, it feels very recessionary to people. But again, if you don't lose your job and the corporations don't get bailed out, then, my cat is a corporation. Okay. You should be buying stocks in lotions than Scott. Just like in Pillars of Eternity. Scott, what are you trying to do? Get me to say that? All right. Recession just makes the middle class and lower class people suffer. Rich people will acquire more assets and wealth gap will increase. Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree that the recession will have that effect on it, but I mean, I think that's probably just kind of the natural course of things as the new money is going to continue to pour in and separate the rich from the poor. So I don't think it's necessarily the recession that does it. I mean, it's, you know, one of the effects of it. I think that the new money and the way that it comes into the system, that's what's separating the rich from the poor. You know, the Cantillon effect. 30 years of work getting paid weekly, $1,500 checks. Invest, invest, invest. Nothing wrong with public transit. Grew up in New York and loved it. Yeah, well, to be honest with you, if I had a bus that ran out to my house, I'd probably take the bus to work, you know. I don't mind doing that. You work, you get paid. It's a nice arrangement. UDC equals mark of the beast. Jay Powell is our savior. I doubt that. Our Fed government is basically a private corporation now. I never had a homeless guy pass out and threaten my life in my car. Huh. Are you thinking about like drunk driver passing out and wrecking his car or something? What's up, Uneducated Economist? What's happening, chatbot Justin 2.0? Oregon is going the same as California. I used to feel the same way about Orange County, but you can't defeat blue states. What signs do you think will show before there's only digital currency to use? Oh man, that's going to be a long, long road before there's only digital currencies. There's going to be cash in the system for probably at least an entire generation after they introduce central bank digital currencies, simply because they don't want a situation in which that people will reject the central bank digital currencies. They want them to accept it, right? And really, the best way to get people to just accept it is to just incorporate it into their daily lives and then slowly phase it out, right? Like, there's not going to come a day, I cannot possibly think that there would be a day in which that there's going to be this big announcement that says, you have to turn in your cash tomorrow, right? Like, they've done this in other nations where they say, hey, if you don't turn in this particular bill, then they're not going to be worth anything at a particular time in the future or something like that. So hurry up and cash them in. They've done that in other nations, right? I could see where that could be like, one of the threats that are out there, but I just don't feel that the American people would be very accepting of that whole idea. But what they can do is introduce the central bank digital currency and then make it a complete nuisance to use cash. Charge them to withdraw and charge them to deposit. Right? If you do that, then you'll just force people into using the central bank digital currencies to avoid the nuisance of using cash. You do that for an entire generation and you can just take the cash right out of the system and people probably wouldn't even notice it happened, Is there any reasonable way to turn this huge mess around? I'm only 31, so I haven't been around long enough to know. I'm sorry, Tyler, there is not. There is no way that it's going to turn around. There is no way that we are going to go back to the way it was or anything like that. That's not the way that this is going to work. The separation between the rich and the poor will grow, right? And that will take place until the inevitable collapse where everybody falls into poverty, and that will be when the Treasury ceases to be paid, right? So like if a Treasury goes into default and essentially like you can't get paid on your bond, that right there will create a situation in which that the entire system will begin to collapse. I don't see that happening. Like, I don't see any situation that will come up in which that a bond won't get paid. I just don't see it, right? Now, what will come from that is a lack of purchasing power from the dollar itself, right? So no matter how you go about this, right? Now, I mean, I shouldn't say there isn't a way to fix it. There is a way to fix it. It's just that nobody's going to do it, right? Because what it would be is that people would have to work incredibly hard, right? They would have to buy no luxuries whatsoever, only the necessities, the bare necessities, right? The bare bones minimum, right? Take every bit of their money that they did get and reinvest that, right? And do that for like generations of people. Work incredibly hard, produce as much as you can, take nothing for yourself, right? Meaning like you only eat and survive off of what it is that you're doing. Save every dime that you have and reinvest that for generations, and we might be able to do something about turning this around. It ain't gonna happen. It's like there's no way that's gonna happen. People are not going to cut back on their luxuries. They are not going to diminish their standard of living. Like, they're not going to do any of that, right? It's all like a one-way street. It grows until it pops. So, the idea of like fixing it, that's not a concept. There is no fixing it. It's a matter of figuring out what it is that is happening and best position yourself to deal with the fact that it is happening. I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, you got to think about it. It's like, what is wealth? Right? Wealth is food, conveniences, and pleasures of life. That's it. Food, conveniences, pleasures of life. If you have all the food you need, right, you have conveniences, right? You got your Uber, you got your place to live, you got your whatever, right? Then it's just pleasures of life. Most people are pleasured by TikTok, right? So they can just sit there and look at their TikTok. They have a place to put their stuff down, and they got some food. That's all wealth. If you can provide that to the people, right, then they'll be happy owning nothing. Right? And that's what's coming, because really you can't afford to own anything anyway. And that's really what it's coming down to. The separation between the rich and the poor will put the rich in houses and cars and all the conveniences and stuff like that, that of personal life. But your conveniences, as far as being able to catch an Uber ride or get a meal or, you know, look at your phone and stuff like that, that'll all be there. Most people won't even realize that they're not wealthy. You know, they'll feel that they're wealthy. All right. Thoughts on firefighters? How would they get replaced soon? I don't think there's just some jobs that are just not going to get replaced. You know, I mean, sure, they can probably design robots to go in there and fight fires and do all kinds of stuff, but there's just some parts of having a human element to it that they're just not going to change. You know, one of the things, entertainment, like people are like, oh no, the AI is going to take over entertainment. No. It's not. I mean, they can make like nice videos and, you know, movies or whatever, but there is no way that you can beat the environment of live music. When somebody is performing live, and that is like, that kind of entertainment cannot be duplicated with a machine. It needs a person up there doing that. When somebody is, like, you can have a machine brew beer. Right? It'll put all the ingredients, brew beer perfectly. But a craftsman, somebody who understands how to brew beer, their skill and what it is that they can do and the creativity that comes into it is unique to themselves. And people who are appreciative of quality beer are going to appreciate that from that person. Those are things that AI can't fix. Like, they can't do that. Like, somebody might be like, wow, that's really good taste in beer. But the fact that somebody else made it makes them more appreciative of it, right? You know, that's stuff that you can't, AI is not going to take that over. You know? Small remodelers are needed. Most that I call are only doing large jobs. Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. Oregon is done. Is digital money approved by government? Is digital money approved by government? I mean, I'm not sure exactly, like, is it approved by government? Like, you know, really, money is voluntary. You know, like, I think, you know, I was talking with my wife about this earlier. Currency, like the difference between currency and money. Like, Lord Humongous would love this conversation because he's all about money being gold and silver and everything else is dead. But you think about it, currency, right? Currency can be anything. It can be anything at all. And now when we think of currency, we think of dollars, like, you know, you're moving dollars around, and we don't really think about any other currency other than maybe like a foreign currency, like somebody else's dollars, you know, of some other nation. But currency can literally be anything at all. Like, I mean, currency was seashells at one time, right? Currency could be, you know, a commodity, like, you know, trading grain. You know, back in the day, it was gold, frankincense, and myrrh, right? All these were currencies. But really, currency could come right down to a promise, somebody's word. Like, literally, like, their word can be currency. I promise I'll pay you back, right? Or I promise I'll give it to you in the future. Just give me the item today, right? So you get the item, you give up your word. Your word is the currency. Maybe someday you'll replace this exact item, all right? But it was the fact that it was the trust that they had in you, in the words that you gave. See, a lot of times we give up that trust thinking that, you know, it's just, this dollar is trustworthy. It just automatically, we don't even think about why it is, right? But really, that's what it comes down to, is a trust factor. When you have something that is gold, then you're trading. You're trading one item for another. There is no trust needed, right? The trust is in the fact that you wanted that gold or the item that you're trading it for. And so that can be currency. But anything out there at all can be currency. And so whether or not it's approved by the government doesn't really make any difference. It's whether or not you approve of it and whether or not you're going to voluntarily deal with that, you know, with that particular currency. So is it approved? Only if you're approving of it, right? And people are accepting of it, which they are. So I guess it's the people's approval of it. at the end of the day, right? The Rolex watch market is dead. Yeah, I mean, well, a good chunk of it, if you look at the highest end Rolex, like the very limited series and stuff, those things are still like going like mad. See, the ultra rich elite, right, the true rich, they're not slowing down. But there's a rich session going on for those who thought that they were rich but didn't realize that they weren't, right? And they're starting to suffer big time. Oregon is great. I love it here. I do too. I love Oregon. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I mean, oh, that's not true. I mean, there's a lot of places I would probably want to be, but I really like it here. I really like my environment. I really like the people here. I like living here. If you stay out of the city, it's the best. Yeah. I will trade non-perishables such as rice, hunt sauce, and pasta. Got enough for a few years. Gonna become a hot commodity. Yeah, I can believe that. I am supported. Okay, so hopefully. Moody over here now too. Welcome to Gammon to TikTok chat. All right. The Oregon Cascades are incredible. Yes, they are. Only obey the law and you won't be messed with. Oh, no, you will. Get a job and you'll have money. Watch where you go. I'm about 40 miles down the coastline from our host. Right on. All right. Down in the Cannon Beach area, I'm guessing? All right. I'm thinking about investing into tent companies. They're going to be big, I think. Jobs suck, but we all need money to live. What a paradox. Yeah, that's so true, you know. All right. If you break up a Fent deal in Frisco, the pusher will break into your apartment and kill you. Eek. Not to my yard, they don't. Okay. Scott, two great lies people are starting to wake up to. All right, you guys are all chatting with each other, and I'm trying to find the questions here. You have to pay to stay here. Let's see. Nice code, but if you obey the law, you won't have to deal with the law. You know, and there's something to be said about that. When I became more of a constitutionalist, when I started reading and studying up on the Constitution and learning about rights and understanding the difference between rights and privileges and realizing like your rights walking through life, right? Dealing with authority and law enforcement and stuff like that. When you know your rights, when you know them well, and you know the laws that are out there, you really feel untouchable. You do. You like walk around feeling like you are above everything else. You're above all authority. You're above everything, right? But there's certain things that you have to conduct yourself in order to maintain that higher level of authority, right? Or above the authority, where you don't stand under authority. You don't understand authority, right? This is when you truly get it, right? Then you won't do anything that breaks the law. Like I won't even cross the street if the sign doesn't say that it's okay to go. Because I will not be stopped for jaywalking because I don't want to be asked to identify myself and explain where I'm going or any of those other things. So if I know that I'm behaving within the law, I feel like I'm way above everything. I'm above authority. I'm above everything out there. And then being able to defend my rights too at the time that they're being infringed, you know. All right. I learned a lot from you. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you. I hope you were talking to me anyway. All right. I've seen a lot of jobs hiring. The problem is they still pay 2019 wages. Yeah. Hey, that dude over there, O2, thank you again for the 5 Canadian. Keep it up. Thank you for the sticker. All right. Lazy. Can't find anyone from low wages they want to pay. Can't find anyone for the low wages they want to pay. Yeah, hit the like. Jesus paid it all on the cross. Appreciate it. All right. True. Most people don't try. And that's what it really comes down to. I mean, if you just try just a little bit, you know, I mean, you know, and I don't mean to like talk down about anybody out there or anything, but you know, I know a few guys who are like lonely dudes, like they, you know, they got divorced or whatever, and they're like lonely guys. Like they don't have any connections, they don't have anybody they hang out with or anything like that. And and I try to like say, hey man, why don't you like ask some people out, go do whatever, go see if you can have it. And they can't like bring it up, like they can't do it. Like they're waiting for something else to happen, before they make that initiative. And I'm thinking, man, all you have to do is just try a little bit, and there's nobody else really trying. There's people who try, but they suck at it because they try and they get embarrassed or they can't do it or something, and they give up right away. But all you have to do is just try a little bit. You'll get good at it, and then pretty soon you'll have everything that you could ever possibly have ever wanted in your life, right? All you have to do is just put forth the effort, right? Intention, attention, lack of, get rid of the importance of it. Without the importance. And there's all kinds of things to do. Like, it's amazing. The whole world is full of opportunities of things to do. Most people are just waiting for permission to go do it instead of just doing it. The question no one is asking as we head into the central bank digital currency, what happens to our mortgage payments? I receive monthly check. How would I make this payment? Well, it's just like any bank account, you're gonna have to deposit your check in the bank and then send digital currencies around. Most people probably won't even recognize that central bank digital currencies are in use because they're so used to using their debit cards and online transactions and everything else. They won't even recognize that central bank digital currencies are at play, right? It's not going to be difficult. They're going to make it very easy, And all right. What's up, UE? Okay. What's up? What is that? Jesus? I love it. Jesus. All right. Work for subpar wages. Okay. What happens when the law says you must inject the jab into your child? What happens when the law says, okay, the law won't say that. We still obey the law. The law won't say that. There's no, anybody like, you make the decisions for yourself. If you accept the words that are coming from somebody else and you don't understand your rights, you will suffer the consequences from that. Just like that statement right there. The law can't come and do that to you. What, are they going to kill you? Right? They're going to put you in jail? Don't answer the door. Right? Make them go get a warrant. Make sure that warrant is signed. Right? The rights of the people to be secure in the person's houses, papers, and effects from unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons and things to be seized. Show me the warrant. Show me a signed warrant. Right? There's no judge in the world who's going to do that to you. Don't think that, like, let the authority go ahead and say whatever they want. Right? They will lie. It's called coercion. Right? They can legally tell you lies that are about the law, about your rights and stuff like that to convince you to do whatever it is that they say. It's up to you to know your rights. You can't listen to them. They are not above you. You are above them. You are the one who is in control always. Right? There's no law that's going to come in and say you have to, take this jab. It would be like, I'm in my house. Sorry. You're going to have to go away. I'm doing dishes, right? We're doing dishes every day, Do whatever you have to do. Moody, he's going to eat the bugs and take the mark. Ain't nobody eating bugs. Mood. No one tells me what to do. That's right. I got $5 an hour wage raise between 2019 and now, and it evaluates to less because inflation. See, like, I think about it, it was just like, I didn't really increase, like, I'm trying to think of, like, what really, my insurance went up, like, food costs went up, fuel went up, some of those things went up, which was, it's a great deal. Like, most people who live, like, paycheck to paycheck, Food and fuel are the most important things. Like, it's the most expensive, most important things that they have going on in their life. And when those two things went up, makes it incredibly difficult on them. Now, when I think about that, I'm like, well, food, I mean, I understand, like, for a lot of people, especially if you live in a city, you're pretty limited, right? But I myself, like, I think about that as like, food is quite abundant. Like, it's incredibly abundant. Whether you grow it yourself or go out there and discover it and find it or hunt for it or do whatever, food is a pretty abundant thing, especially if you take on the skills of acquiring and learning how to can and do all that other stuff. You can make food fairly inexpensive. Like, food can be expensive, and if you just don't change the way you do things, then it'll probably remain expensive. But there's all kinds of things you can do to be abundant in food. Like, when I was broke, like absolutely the brokest that I had ever lived, I had a little hobby farm. We ate good. We ate all the time. We had plenty of food. In fact, we always had more food than we knew what to do with, right? Because we would trade it for other things. That's the type of things that you need to kind of acquire. And then when it comes to energy use, again, like, it's all about, most of the energy that most people end up spending is either like, electricity for their house or something like that, but it's putting fuel into their vehicle, right? Because they're driving around enjoying the places that they're going to, the beach or park or fun or big, concerts or whatever. They're driving around, doing things, enjoying that. Again, like, these are two things that you could probably find a good way of backing off on how much you are actually purchasing, right? It sucks, it's not enjoyable, but it's hard times. You got to figure it out. So that was awesome. Once you cancel the cable, you won't believe how much time you have. Yeah, I haven't had cable TV, I don't know, 7 or 8 years or something like that. It's been a long time since I've had cable TV. I did have, like, Netflix and stuff like that going on, so there is internet access to TV and TV type things, but as far as just sitting around watching TV, no, haven't done it in a long time. There will be free flow of employees and products between U.S. and China and India in the future. Will be fun for American middle class. Yeah, anyone who wants to get in the trades needs to get into union apprenticeships. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Matt. That's the best way to get in, is union apprenticeships, Martin Luther was onto something. Said, obey the law, so apparently the law tells you what to do. Tells you what to do. I don't think the law tells you what to do. I think the law is telling you more about what not to do. Like, don't park here, right? Don't drive that fast, don't, whatever. But it's not telling you necessarily what to do. It's telling you what not to do. Right? You get to do whatever you want, I mean, be like, if the law is telling you what to do, then they would be like, there's nothing out there that forces you to do anything. You can just sit right over there and do nothing, right? And there's nobody out there. I mean, they might make you move, but they can't make you do anything other than go sit in someplace else, That's it. All right. But a lot of no, I'm not going there. All right. Let's see. Jesus didn't follow the laws either. Yeah, I guess not. So what happened there, huh? All right. Wannabe Tupac is part of the problem. Huh. I was young and free. I'd blow this canola stem. Unjust laws don't apply to me. Yeah, I hear you. A ton of wannabe gangsters. Wow, that is crazy. Used cars are $20,000 with 100,000 miles plus. The interest is higher. This used car was free, right? You sit around, you wait long enough, and eventually your parents give you a car. Like, my dad gave me a car when I was 16. It was a 1971 Carmen Ghia. If you can believe that. He had this old Volkswagen Carmen Ghia that I used to just rip around out there in the country. Man, I loved it. I would tear it up on the logging roads too. It was a fun little car to drive around. It's like driving a go-kart. It was so awesome. So there is work that's beneath you. I don't know. What work is beneath you? I mean, if you need the money, there is no work that's beneath you. All right. Cool. We're almost up to 300 likes. We're literally 6 likes away from 300. Come on, guys. 300 likes. Let's hit it. All right. I work for free all the time. Money isn't everything. That's true. I'm selling my Toyota Matrix for $659,000. All right. I grew up in the 90s. Want to work for free for me? I'll give you a job. All right. 6,000 square foot. Damn, good luck with the heating bill. Yeah, right. House prices got to come down. In my opinion, nothing goes up forever without correcting. We can't disregard economic cycles. Interest rates up and lending tight. Job losses and no savings. Who will buy? Well, to be honest, that was the exact same thing that was stated like a year and a half ago, before the interest rates started to go up. That was the exact argument right there, was that once these interest rates go up, who can afford it? But here we are, right? I mean, house prices still haven't come down. People are like, oh, just give us some time, it will. All right, well, what's going to be the catalyst, right? What's going to be the reason why we see so many houses coming down in price? I see people all over the place, standing on the sidelines, waiting, cash in hand, right? Like, waiting for their opportunity to buy a house. And I'm thinking, well, if everybody is waiting, how far can the prices go down before somebody jumps, right? The price comes down, it makes it just a little bit better, they jump, right? They jump for it. It's going to take massive unemployment. It's going to take a massive amount of unemployment, people losing their jobs to not make their payments, those payments or those lack of payments causing the house to go into foreclosure, and then that wave of foreclosures coming into the market. That is like what, 2-year, 3-year long process that it'll take? At that point, I'm assuming that the Federal Reserve will probably have reversed course and we would have lower interest rates and the whole thing would be like no longer the same situation. There is a way. I mean, people think that they can only go up or down. Like, you're either going to have like this exponential rise or an utter crash. I mean, there is the possibility that mortgage rates could go sideways, which they have done for what, 8-9 months now. And is it possible that a lot of the housing market could go sideways with it? Sure. Could it crash? Yeah, I guess it could. I don't see it happening, not with the lack of inventory that's happening right now. Prices don't seem to be going up. So what is it? Maybe we're hitting a stagnant market. What if it does this for the next 5 years? Who knows? All right. In the 90s, oh God, you guys are still doing that. Okay. Because she told me to do it. Let's see, I mow the neighbor's lawn because she's told me to do it, yet I got 4 jobs from it. All right. Never work for free. Never ever, interest rates were 13% and inflation over 20% in the 1980s, and people complain about how high interest rates and inflation. Yeah. Them bald-faced hornets are mean as Satan. Yeah, they are. How can I destroy a wasp nest? What is the trick? I don't know, man. I got to use the poison myself. All right. My boss asked me to come to work back with them for tire busy season in the fall winter option to work any day as I please. I'm blessed with his family biz. Oh, that's cool. West Coast had huge rains this year. More rain equals more flowers equals more bugs. I never thought about it like that, but you're right. All right, no recession in hornets. No, not by any means. I've seen bugs I've never seen in my life before. Stay away from lending, man. Go to start somewhere. Hell, electric bike. I saw a vid where someone killed all the wasps with a glass of gasoline. Ugh. Yeah, but then you got to dump gasoline all over your property or something. It's like, it's not fun either, you know? All right, why kill bees unless they're an invasive species? Yeah, well, Freddie was picking some berries when he got attacked by those ground hornets, and I tell you, that little kid is tough. He got stung like 7 times, like on the legs mostly, on the hand. It was mostly around the legs because it was the ground hornets that he had stepped right next to. But he didn't, like, he come in, he was screaming pretty loud, but he didn't, not one tear, didn't shed one little tear. And after being scared of everything, you know, obviously being pain from all the bee stings, I'm like, all right, man, are you all right? And he's like, yeah. And he turns around. I'm like, oh, dude, you got one right in the middle of your back. And he looks at me and he goes, I didn't even feel that one, Dad. You know, and I'm like, 'cause you're tough as hell. That's how, you know. But yeah, he got stung like 7 times last weekend. And he's still running around. He's like, it didn't faze him. He's good. Yeah. All right. Never say why you need money. You need to tell them why you are worth more. That's it, man. That's exactly why it worked out. It was just, I didn't even have to tell him. I just proved it, right? I mean, I just proved I was worth more. Bro, you don't explain. You just ask. Oh, there it is. You just ask, and they say yes or no. Your boss knows what's up. That's why they're the boss. All right. Hard to run for your life and carry a glass of gas. Yeah, that's for sure. Good answer, Yui. All right. I hate when people kill bees. Don't kill bees. They did nothing wrong. Yeah. I mean, well, that's true. I mean, you know, the only bee's nest that I think I actually killed this year, because the hornet's nest that Freddie stepped on, it's still there. It's still going. But we had some right next to the front door. It was a big beehive, like right next to the front door. And I was like, this can't be here, you know? And I tried knocking it down at one point, but they rebuilt it. So it's just like, what do? You know? I love money. I love what money can do. I don't really care about money. All right. I hate to be a cop, and they hate to be a cop. Huh. I asked for a raise, and they offered me $4 an hour raise in 1 year. Get a job like a bus driver and work Sundays. Make yourself invaluable is the best way to get a raise. That's what I found, you know. It was just like, just make yourself worth more than everybody else, way more than everybody else, and then just go find a better opportunity someplace, and then they'll give you a raise. And you never know, you might find a better opportunity from it. So I got stung 8 times and my blood is on fire. Yeah. I like, it was so bad, like that time when I got stung around, like literally my face started to swell up, like my lips were all bare, like, oh god, and I was all dizzy and shit. I like happy chicks, you know, they aren't down for the money, but they are. I always do better moving on to the next job. Yeah, not to mention it's also fun and exciting to do something new, you know, like have a new job. Oh my god, you guys all need to start your own LLC and start to learn how to manage. Behave yourself. Still rather be the pimp though. Yeah, who wouldn't, right? Getting stung is good medicine. Yeah, you know, it's actually kind of funny when I did get stung all those times around the ankle, so I'm like sitting back and I got my feet up and it was painful, but you know, it actually felt kind of good. Like your joints start feeling better and stuff, like, you know, the arthritis kind of thing starts to fade away. So all right, what chat is he reading? I've literally seen none of the chat he has read. He's reading like 5 minutes behind, I think. Yeah, I'm a ways back there. They love your money, Scott. You got footage? Huh. My lifestyle as a factory worker allows me the extra money for sex workers. Huh, well, good for you. All right. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Here, let's cruise down to the bottom here. Let's get to the more recent. There was some super chats. Let's go check those out. All right. Abdullah Muhammad, thank you very much for the 25. Could you explain why the Fed would keep increasing interest rates as long as unemployment is low? And is this the only metric Fed bases rates on? No, 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 not on. I mean, not at all. They have all kinds of metrics that they base it on. But the main thing that the Federal Reserve, and I guess probably the answer to that question is why would they keep interest rates elevated until unemployment rises, is because what they are trying to do is they're trying to hurt the consumer, right? So they don't want people buying stuff. They want people to slow down on their consumption. And now the only way to really do that is to raise the interest rates, and hopefully that would put a burden on the idea of borrowing money to buy things, right? So the asset prices would come down like houses, right? That was kind of the idea. If you raise the interest rates on mortgages, or just raise the interest rates and mortgages interest rates go up, then the idea that people are going to be borrowing money to buy houses isn't as prevalent, right? Because people can't make those interest payments on it. So that's the consumer that they're trying to hurt. The only problem with trying to hurt the consumer is if you have a job. See, if you have a job, then you're still going to go out there and spend the money. You know, you may not be able to borrow money to spend money, but if you have a job, then you're out there still spending money. And that's the problem, is that everybody has a job, right? Or not everybody, obviously, but there's a lot of jobs out there and people have work. If they wanted work and couldn't find it, right? Like some guys are, but for the most part, you can go get a job at McDonald's, right? So if you wanted work but couldn't find it, well, then you wouldn't be a consumer at all. Like, you're not going to make your rent payment, you're not going to be buying food, you're not going to be buying anything at all because you don't have a job to buy anything with. So even though that the interest rates are elevated, people working are still spending that money into the economy. They want to slow that down. And the only way you can slow that down is by raising the unemployment or allowing unemployment to rise. Less people with jobs, less people to spend money into the economy, then you have less consumption happening, and hopefully that would bring the inflation down. And I mean, I think that's kind of the idea in a nutshell. I hope that explains it. Thank you for the super chat too. I really appreciate it. Did I see another one? Yeah, right there. What is that? Hall Mitty? Thank you very much for the 5. In regards to freedom and self-employment, could one expect like-minded individuals in primary industries to form a company, towns to dodge taxes, fees, etc.? Well, I mean, I guess that could happen. I mean, that's a kind of a hypothetical situation. Most people aren't going to group up in such fashions like that. They kind of work individually. And then, you know, really trying to get a business started, you have to kind of follow in line with all the government rules as far as, you know, business license and operating within city ordinances, paying taxes on and stuff like that. So, I mean, could say a rebel gang, kind of, so to speak, of people saying, hey, we're going to operate business and try and do this commerce thing without the government involvement in it, I think would probably end up being very short-lived and wouldn't actually extend to any kind of real, like, major profitable growth opportunity, just because, you know, government would come in and shut you down, you know, seize all your assets and stuff like that for tax evasion. All right. Man, so many super chats. Okay. Midtown Columbus Incorporated, thank you very much for the 5. Hello from Georgia. Wealth is not having to follow another's command to survive. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it for sure. All right. So is there another one? All these super chats. You guys are so awesome, loading me up today. It's very cool. Intrepid Soul, thank you for the $5. Instead of blaming the rich, prepare now. The wise use business cycles to build wealth. Buy gold, silver to preserve purchasing power. Yeah. Well, anything that you can do to try and earn money, like especially when it comes to, you know, starting your own business. You know, that's what I told people, like, you know, try and figure out how to earn $1. Just earn $1. You know, if you can figure out a way to earn $1, then you can learn how to make $2, and then $4, $8, $16, and the next thing you know, you have a lot of money. So it's just, you know, it's a matter of just doing it, getting started and doing it. And no matter how insignificant it seems, it's not. It's very significant. You know, starting this YouTube channel, I didn't know it was going to grow to be, you know, a popular YouTube channel with 100,000 plus subscribers. I mean, I didn't know anything was going to come from it, but I had to start someday. I had to start one day. I had to start that day. That day, I became a YouTuber, even though nobody watched my videos. I put out a video, nobody watched it. I put out another video, nobody watched that one either, right? I did that over and over and over again until I started catching attention from people and they started watching my videos. And the next thing I know, I'm doing daily videos on YouTube, getting paid for, getting invited to go places and stuff. And it was just incredible. But it all started with that first day of putting out videos saying, I'm going to be a YouTuber and I'm going to start today. And that day I became a YouTuber, right? I didn't know it was going to grow as big as it did, but who knows what is going to happen until you actually do it, right? There's another one. Thank you, Limitless Living. Thank you for the $10. Why is Florida growing so much? Why so many buyers? I don't know. I mean, there's markets all over the place. This, you know, Astoria seems to be another one here. I mean, the house prices around here have gone up dramatically over the last year. Even over the time that the Federal Reserve was raising interest rates, the home prices here in this market were going up. Now, granted, a lot of the prices have come out since their peak, but I don't, like, it's a beautiful area. It's sunny. People want to be here. You know, people are, you know, they want to live in sunny areas, I guess. I don't know. Will I make over 100K a year and have a kid, so try another theory, bro? I'm not sure which one that was going towards. All right. Your time, their money. Okay, I'm going to cruise back down to the bottom. There's just so many comments. There's just so many. I got to get up closer here. Okay. Limitless Living, thank you again for the 5. Can't everyone be you? What makes you physiological difference? I know why law of attraction. I know why law of attraction. Psychologically different. I know why law of attraction. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. Can't everyone be you? What makes you? This is like, I'm not sure what we're trying to get at there, but I mean, as far as like, you're right. Like, nobody can be you. Only you are you. You are the only one who will ever be you. Like, okay, you know, here's something. I put out a lot of information out on YouTube, right? So I talk a lot about economics, and I talk in a way or bring up articles that other people will bring up. I might bring up the exact same topics, talk about the exact same facts, bring up the same opinions, do the videos almost the same as another YouTuber out there, right? But the difference is that even though it's the same information, people may not want to receive the information from me. They may want to receive it from that other person, right? Even though it's the same information, nobody can really put out the information like you can, or like I can, or like they can, right? And because it's different, the way we do it and the way we interact and the energies that we put out towards it, it's going to be appealing to some people and not to others, right? And so that's where, like, doing things from your own creativity, from your own imagination, and then putting out there that intent, right? That this is what I want, and I'm putting this attention towards it, and it doesn't matter if it actually makes it or not. This is how things actually happen, right? A lot of times it's letting go of the energy that you have of wanting this desire to have it, right? Like, I gotta have all this money. I mean, if I don't have all this money, my life is gonna be horrible. How am I gonna get all this money, man? How do I stress about getting money? That repels money, Like, that pushes money away, and then it makes it ever harder to get. But if you're thinking, well, I'm pretty smart about some things, maybe I'll start writing a newsletter and see if I can't, get a monthly subscription to my newsletter. And we'll start by maybe creating a Patreon account or something like that, and just start going for it and see what happens from it. The day that you start doing it is the day you are it. That's it. Like, the day I became a YouTuber was the day that I started putting out videos, that very first one. Anyway, moving on. How long have we been out here? We've been out here an hour and 39 minutes. We'll give it, like, say, another 20 minutes or so. And then I'm going to have to call it a night after that. All right. What's your thoughts on what markets will be impacted the most in a recession? What markets will be impacted the most? I don't know, because I guess the recessions are always different. I would think, like, if we, I don't know. Like, if you had a position in which that, people were losing their jobs massively, then that would, like, I would be, like, say, in the idea of, like, auto industries or something like that, something that involved cars, repossession of cars, those type of things that are happening. I don't know. There's a lot of, like, again, it's probably your own creativity and what you see happening around you. I don't know. Like, it's hard to say, because, like, this recession is so different from any others. Like, typically, like, a slowdown in construction is a lot of jobs. And when you have a slowdown in construction, you have a slowdown in a lot of the other residual businesses that are around construction, right? So, if you have a major development going in, all the contractors, all the workers, everything else, they're spending their money around that particular area, which is, bringing in even more economic boom to that particular area, not just the actual building of the homes, but then all the money that is spent because of the building of the homes, right? If you have a slowdown, then you have a slowdown in that, but what if you don't have a slowdown in manufacturing of homes, right? Like, right now, it's not exactly booming, but it's not, like, in the toilet either, right? The amount of new homes started is just about as typical as it's ever been, so again, like, I don't know what industries would be most impacted. I really just don't know. Are you on Rumble too? I am not. I should be. Scott, you are right. Like 2010 and 2011, where's some? That's the ship out there. All right, Scott, you were right. Like 2010 to 2011, some were on the lowest house prices a few years after the Great Recession. Yeah, but then, okay, the Great Recession and the house prices, that there was a lot of stuff that was so different then that was occurring that is not occurring today, right? One of them is that there was a whole lot of mortgages going to people who should never have had them. Okay, we have to think about that, because what that did is it created a toxic asset. Mortgage-backed securities that were toxic, right? That's not the case today. Okay? So although they could turn toxic, they're not. For the last year and a half, and even before that, only the most qualified people were getting loans. Like, you had to have your stuff together. They weren't just willy-nilly handing out loans like they were, prior to the Great Financial Crisis. So those mortgage-backed securities, they're pretty good. Like, not toxic, what I mean. It's just like, could they turn toxic? Sure. But they're not filled with a bunch of people who shouldn't have gotten a loan in the first place. Ninja loans or whatever. So that's one of the major things that is big time different from Great Financial Crisis to today. And then prior to the Great Financial Crisis, if you go and you look at the home builds that were taking place, there was an insane amount of it. There was this huge overbuild of homes that were happening prior to the Great Financial Crisis. That's not occurring today, right? So those two major issues that were happening prior to the Great Financial Crisis don't exist, right? Not like they did. Now, you might be able to find other little evidence or pieces in there that say, hey, well, what about this, that, or the other thing? Those were the two major issues back in the great financial crisis that crashed the housing market. So without those two things, we're going to have to come up with something else that's going to crash the housing market. And to me, it's going to be a rise in inventory due to foreclosures coming from unemployment. I don't see it happening, right? It could happen, but not yet. I mean, just because we've seen the house prices rise exponentially for the last, 3, 4, 5 years, or especially in the last couple of years, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to come down, right? I mean, it seems like they should, right? Logically, you think about it, anything that goes up must come down, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case, right? I mean, we don't know. And that's where I keep trying to, encourage people to try and look at this from as many angles, not just say, hey, everything that goes up must come down. Okay, that's true. I mean, I guess that's in a sense of things, but like, I myself watched the value of my house go up $130,000 in the course of a year and a half. It literally was going up $10,000 a month. The value of the home on a Zillow estimate would go up more than I could earn with my job and YouTube and my wife's income all together. Like, it still couldn't beat and it was ridiculous, right? It shouldn't have done that. I don't know, $70,000 has come off of that Zillow estimate. It's still way more than what I had paid for it, right? So, yeah, I mean, 20% or 10 better than, let's see, I don't know how much it was, 15%, right, had come off of the value of the Zillow estimate on my home from the peak. Still way above what I paid for it, right? Still way, way more than what I owe. Right? So, just my position on a house, which I bought in a year and a half ago, I am so far away from being underwater. Like underwater is such a far distance from me that I don't even consider it a threat, right? I think a lot of people are sitting in that same position. Homes, like a third of homes being purchased over the last 2 to 3, 5 years or whatever, all cash buyers. They can care less what interest rates are. At this point, they don't even really care what the house price is, right? Because they pay cash for it. What difference does it make? So, a lot of changes, a lot of big differences from then. Oh, hey, another super chat. Let's go check that out. Wow, man, Limitless Living. Thank you for the $30. Very cool of you. What does that say? I think that's real estate, maybe? Real estate grounds you. Owning is not the same as renting. Thank you, bro. Great channel. No, you're absolutely right about that. But I have two schools of thoughts when it comes to renting and owning, right? Now, when you rent, right, yes, you are throwing your money to somebody else who's making the payment, whatever, right? I totally get that you're throwing your money away. What you are also doing is you are keeping yourself nimble, right? In the sense that all of a sudden you run into some serious hard times. You lose your job, you lose your income, you lose something, issues come up, get sick, death in the family, whatever, right? Divorce, issue takes place, you can't make the payment anymore. Well, if you're renting, you're out. Bummer, man. You had 30 days, that's it. You don't lose everything that you have ever worked for, right? I mean, you just basically got to go find another place to live. But you're not losing, you're not going into like bankruptcies. You're not losing your credit. You're not going to suffer for the next 10 years as you try to figure out how it is that you're going to rebuild your life from the loss of this, foreclosure or having this foreclosure in your life. Not everybody will suffer the same, but that's what ended up happening to me. It took 10 years out of my life. Now, renting, yeah, sure, you are throwing it away, but you don't have that loss. You don't have to worry about that, right? You can rent your entire life, right? Invest all the rest of the money, and at the end of it, have a huge retirement and have no burden of any kind of liability out there, right? See, it's hard to wrap your head around because everybody just looks at the value of a house and says that's how everybody got rich, right? And that's how a lot of millionaires made it rich. In fact, most millionaires never earned more than $100,000 a year in their entire life. And the majority of them made their millions in real estate, right? So yeah, it's probably the most common way of achieving wealth, but it's not the only way to do it, right? Now, if you look at most rich people out there, like really rich people, there's something that they all have in common. One, they are 100% assets, and number two, they have zero liabilities, right? The liabilities that they do have is good debt. It's debt that they have borrowed and now is generating them an income, like they borrowed money to buy an apartment complex or something like that. Buying a house for yourself, right, and dumping all this money into a house is not necessarily going to be the best choice for building wealth, right? Could it be? Sure. You can work your entire life, 30 years, dumping money into this house and end up with $1 million house and say, hey, look what I have. You're wrong. I have all this stuff, whatever, right? There is that way of looking at it. To me, renting and having zero liabilities and being 100% into assets, that's the direction I would want to go, right? That was the direction I was headed, but then I was forced to buy a house. I can see it from both sides. Like, I'm happy I bought my house. I'm, happy with everything that went with the pricing, with the interest rate I got on it, the neighborhood I live in, everything about it is perfect. I love it, right? But if you go back and watch the videos prior to me buying the house, I was very much wanting to rent. I was wanting to be 100% in assets and have zero liabilities. I had no debts, and I was building a stock portfolio, a crypto portfolio. I was building up a cash hoard. I was doing it, man. I was building up my assets, and I didn't care about the rent. Actually, I had a really good rent, so I really enjoyed the rent. It was cheap living. So, it's not all bad, yeah. It's rough in North Georgia. All low-pay service jobs under 30 hours, high rents if you can find an apartment or houses for 60 plus. Wow. Hey, it's all-nighter. Right on. Eating government cheese. All right, that's why we're broke. Buy a car, boat, jet skis, caravan. Moody is 100% correct. No payments is powerful. I choose BTC over a house, and it paid off. Yeah, cash is king, gold is God. There were people lined up buying new homes in my area. Gonna be slow chat, gonna operate my truck. All right. Real estate has not hit the bottom. Not sure, suckers born every minute. Boomer's motto, we're taking it with us. Suckers with money. Lost job and no money, it's easy. I bought 4 houses when interest rates were at 2 to 3%. Best decision ever made. Yeah, I can imagine that, man. Again, like I got 3 1/4 on the interest rate. I don't know how in the world that I would ever want to give that up, Current prices is what makes buying today so rough, and the rates. Muhammad, you are the definition of golden handcuff, debt slave. I want to live tiny and I'm 21. What should I do? I want to live tiny and I'm 21. What should I do? I don't know, man. Don't dive into luxuries, right? And try to find, enjoyment out of things that are free out there in the world. I don't know, like, it's the ambition. This is like the idea of wanting to buy a big house that really, I think, ends up hurting people. I think there's a lot of things that you could do to lower your standard of living, increase your income, and invest that income, that extra, that above what it is that you need to live. You invest that hardcore, especially if you're 21, you got compounding interest on your side. I don't think there's really a whole lot you need to do, right? You just need to work. You need to keep your expenses low, and you need to invest that money into something that's going to, have some kind of return of interest on it. It doesn't even need to be that much. At 21, compounding interest, $50 a month, $100 a month, And you don't even really have to try. By the time you're 60, 70 years old, you're going to have so much money, you're going to be doing very well. And especially if you have that kind of habit today, by the time you get into your 30s, 40s, you're going to be dumping a lot of money into that kind of thing, and you're going to be doing very well. Use compounding interest. Pull out a compounding interest calculator and follow that for a while and see what you get. All right. You will eat the bugs. Nope. You'll eat the bugs. I won't. Government Cheese by KEBMO is great tune. Oh, right. One of my favorites. Okay, guys, I'm going to give it 6 more minutes here, and then I'm going to head on home and get some dinner. Go hang out with the fam for a little bit. All right. What do you think about fixed payment, variable rate mortgages in Canada? Some people are up to 90 years. Yeah, right? So that was a crazy story that I read about. I didn't know that's how the Canadian, I knew the Canadian mortgages would, they would, renegotiate them every 5 years. But I did not realize that in a lot of cases, the payment stays the same. But if the interest rates go up, they will push those payments out farther out in years, right? So your payment will stay the same, but instead of having a 30-year loan, you may end up with like a 40-year loan or a 50-year loan. And in some cases, some people have 90-year loans now. Like they readjusted them with the higher interest rates, and now they owe out 90 years. There's no way they'll ever truly own that house. So I would assume that, as time goes on, they'll be able to renegotiate it again or eventually make the payments and own the house. But still, to think that, man, my payments today are going to be stretched out for 90 years. I mean, talk about how heartbreaking is that, Wow, guys, you really love me on that like button. Thank you so much. We got 372 likes and $113 in super chats. We got 281 people watching right now, 272 people watching right now. It's just been a great chat, man. Great live stream today. All right. Ken, thank you very much for the $5. Your recent videos on homelessness and greed have hit me really hard. Thank you for those recent videos. Well, yeah, you bet, man. I mean, really, it's understanding the Cantillon effect. That's what really is that does it. Because, when you start to really see the increase in homeless, right? When you see how difficult it is to, to start over. Like somebody who is sitting in their 30s or 40s trying to figure out how it is that they're going to start from nothing. I mean, take it. I was one of them, right? 40 years old, drunk, no money, no car, no anything going on, completely loser, right? I mean, in every sense of the word. And this is man, I can't do this. I'm 40. I'm this was when I was 39 years old. I'm turning 40, right? I'm I can't do this. I got to quit drinking. I got to figure this out, or else I'm going to be out there on the streets too, And at 40 years old, it was just okay, get your stuff together, try to figure things out. And, and you do, right? You start, putting the pieces together. But you realize it's going to take more than just having a job, right? It's going to take a lot more than that. So even just having a job isn't going to cut it. It's not enough, right? Especially if you are trying to start over, right? If you're young, you can kind of get away with it, right? And you're 18 years old, sleeping on couches or, trying to figure your way around. You get a lot of chances. People forgive you, for screwing up when you're 18. They'll give you other opportunities to try again. But if you're a screw up at 40 years old, nobody really wants to give you a chance. You really have to prove yourself that you're worthy when you're at 40, especially if you don't have any experience or anything like that going on. So now when you think about the new money comes in, people who have access to that new money, well, they get to really enjoy it, and they start spending it on things that they enjoy, and it causes the prices of those things to go up, which makes it ever increasingly more difficult for people at the bottom of the line to try and acquire those things. I mean, even people who have, the ability to have a job and to pay rent and stuff like that, when you have inflation running like it does, and it takes into, cuts into their fuel and food and fuel, trying to acquire the money that you need in order to advance yourself becomes very difficult. And again, you start needing to take on other jobs or other forms of income. And this is going to only get harder. I mean, you think about it. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it wasn't that hard to do this. Like, an individual could make it. You could have an apartment. You could have an average job and actually acquire the things that you needed in life. It's so much more difficult today. Even my wife and I, when we graduated high school, we graduated high school with part-time jobs, right? With those part-time jobs, we were able to have cars, insurance, rent an apartment, right? Renting an apartment for ourselves. The day that we graduated, we moved out of, she was already living on her own with her sister. She moved out of, her sister's apartment, moved into the apartment that we were renting. When I graduated, I moved in with her. We did that in high school as high school students with high school, diplomas. That's it. Like, we didn't have any other skill sets. She worked at a pizza parlor. I worked at a hardware store. And, we were able to make it happen. And we weren't the only ones. We had friends doing that same thing. I can't imagine kids doing that today. Like, I mean, I'm sure some of them can, but it's probably with help of their parents or like some serious, discipline and, saving up money and working hard for it. But most people probably won't behave like that. It's just a different way. It's not going to be the same as it used to be. And it's just going to get harder. So you're going to see more, there's going to be more homeless. That's going to be, that's going to become more prevalent. There's going to be, more separation between the rich and the poor. So you're going to find people with like an insane amount of stupid amount of wealth, and how they are able to spend it, while the other people at the other end are just suffering dramatically from it. Yeah. That's going to continue. This is the way it's going, Okay, where are we at? We're at 2 hours into this. Okay, I'm going to hit one more question, and then we're going to call it a night, because this has been one awesome live stream tonight. You guys are so awesome. So many people were involved in this stream. It was so cool. Two more likes, guys. Just 2 more, and we hit the 400 mark. All right. They're just going to be more everyone poor with less production. Yeah, and that's what's sad about it, is that so long as we have like the debt issuance taking place, so long as the Treasury continues to push out that debt and the world continues to buy it, and that brings the new money into the United States, it'll continue. The separation between the rich and the poor and the conditions that we are facing will continue, right? And how long that lasts and what it looks like when it's over, I can't even begin to imagine. It's going to be horrible when it's over, because everybody falling into poverty is not going to do well. I mean, talk about societal decay and like who knows what could come from it. All right. They do not let me too many super chats. Great channel, keep it up. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, you guys are so supportive of the channel. I cannot thank you guys enough for being here. I say it every time. Without you, I don't know where I would be. I mean, my life would be completely different than this. But, coming out here, being able to put these videos out, share my thoughts with you, getting your thoughts in the comment section, this is what, I can't believe I have this. Like, this is so incredible for me, and it's like, it's almost like, I don't even know how to like describe it. Like it isn't real. Like that's the way it feels sometimes, All right, Simon, piloting my truck. Thanks, Simon. Oh, still piloting my truck. Thanks, Simon, and everyone. Well, thank you, all-nighter. Thank you for being here, man. You are the man. All right, sinful to jump. Don't run from debt. You're not. All right. Sinful. It's tribute to your masters. Taxes are voluntary, by the way. Yeah, they are. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Uneducated Economist, you let me know.